Yeah, well, keep me in line. That's what you're in charge of the guys beside you.
I'm trying to help.
Sorry about that, folks. Looked up and we're maybe a half minute late here. So with that, I'll open the meeting. And first order of business is after this call to order is a pledge of allegiance, and then we'll have a prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now, Pastor Tim, if you'll help us out here.
Well, good morning, everybody. Let's join together here in a prayer. Thank you, Lord, for another day. My goodness, I thank you for this great country, for the freedom that we have to speak, to meet, and to conduct our business. And as a result, Father God, we need your wisdom and your guidance. So I pray you'll bless this board of commissioners who've been chosen by the people of this county. You know them. You know their needs. You know their desires, their motives, their hopes, their fears. And Father God, I ask that you give them encouragement and give them wisdom for greater insight and problem solving. And may we all remember that you, Lord, are concerned about what is said and done here today. So we ask your blessing on this meeting. In your name we pray. Amen.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for showing up today. I know many of you are here for specific purposes, and I'm glad that you are here so we can have these conversations and get your input. And with that, I'd like to go on to public comments on items not on our agenda today. And it's my understanding that Mayor Moore from the Highlands would like to speak today.
Thank you. Commissioners, Mr. Partington and Councilor Hoffman. I'm Dr. Carol Moore, Mayor for the City of the Highlands, and I'm here today to present to you the polling results from the citizens of my city in response to the memo we received from the Reno County Public Works Department dated June 25, 2025. This memo is an explanation of the September 13th, 2023 action by the County Commission vote to have no levies for the utility districts, including bond and interest funds paying for the recent wastewater improvement for the Highlands Sewer District number 8. Resolution 2025-17 changed the bond and interest payment structure from what had been voted on by the citizens in 2018 without our notification. In the conversations that this letter generated, it wasn't at the tsunami level, but it was quite generous in the community. We found out that there was not much, if any, reserve in place for repairs for the sewer system, and that only those individuals or those homes who were connected to the wastewater system were paying the bond and interest payments. I would suggest you all have copies of those polling results, that the belief that all property owners should contribute to the cost of the wastewater system was a factor in the overwhelming selection of option number 1. The City Council invited Commissioners Parks and Don Britton to our council meeting to discuss the changes that were made and options that were available, and this resulted in the 3 options that you see in front of you. The ballots were tabulated, taking in the most recent returns as of yesterday morning. And the results are to the immediate left of those options. The ballots were distributed to each residence via door hangers, and it included stamped and addressed envelopes for ease of return. There were 111 returns, which is a 62% rate. Of the 111, there were 5 ballots that were not usable, so that left 106 to calculate the percentages. So if you refer to the paper, the compilation of the options that you have in front of you, 66% or 70 of the respondents selected option number 1, and that option would be to put the entire payment for the bond and the interest on the property tax statements. That would require or ask for each property owner in the City of the Highlands to contribute to the payment for this bond. And this bond is scheduled to be completely paid in 2038 at a 3% interest rate. Option number 2, we had 7 respondents that selected that, and that was what was voted on in 2018. Option number 3 is what was changed by the resolution that was passed in 23. We had 27% select that. While it is within your realm of responsibility to administer the sewer district number 8, I ask that you consider the wishes of the residents of the City of the Highlands with a new resolution in January 2026 that incorporates option number 1. I stand for any questions that you might have. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. He corrected me, 0.3%. That does make a difference, the
Yes.
decimal, doesn't it?
Yes. So I take it that you had the poll here,
Yes,
and that you're here today, that your council is recommending option 1 if it's doable.
yes,
That's your recommendation as a council for the city.
yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I might add on that was the recommendation by our Public Works Director as well that went forward, that the people decided to accept, and in his estimation, it was definitely the logical way to go to build that out, so it's if you will, more spread out to the folks that own the ground and the houses and stuff out there. But I would ask that, in future, if we're going to take resolution on it, the board would move to follow what the Council of the Highlands would like to do.
Any other?
Commissioners, just to let you know, any of these 3 options are doable with the budget. So when we set the maximum budget for the utility districts, knowing this poll was being worked on, the county did set up the budget to where you could make any of these 3 choices, and it won't. I mean, all of those options are available when you meet in September. If you gave direction to staff to prepare the budget before September 10th meeting, that would be helpful, but their request for option 1 is doable with the budget.
So would it be appropriate to do something today, or do we need some time to draw up some of the correct papers and stuff and do it sometime before the budget meeting?
If you have a consensus to direct staff on, then they can get going. But you won't actually take a determination till the budget hearing, but you could give staff guidance today.
Okay. Well,
Thank you.
thank you. If we were to discuss this, or if we're just giving guidance, we don't have to put anything on the agenda?
It's not on the agenda, but we do have the study session that's about budget, so we could that's already been announced, and we can cover it with some other budget items in the study session, which is part
So
of our
do it
agenda.
in the study session. Keep this portion of the meeting clean. All right, good enough. Thank you for your input. Appreciate that. Is there any other comments before we move on? Are there any additions or revisions to our agenda? Staff saying no. Any of you guys got something that came up? If not, our consent agenda is next on our agenda. Is there any discussion on any of the items on this consent agenda before we move forward with a vote or I see nobody having any comments, so I would entertain a motion.
Go ahead, Reed.
I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented by staff.
I'd second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion before we take the vote? Seeing none. Jenna, would you help us out here?
Commissioner Parks,
Yes.
Commissioner Vincent,
Yes.
Commissioner Winger,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst,
Yes.
Commissioner Bogner.
Yes. Thank you. We have a few business items that we'll move on to at this point. 7A, Kansas Workforce One Overview and Agreement.
Good morning.
And if I'd keep up with what's been prepared, I'd have a name, but would you?
You're fine. Good morning, commissioners and everyone here. I'm Deb Scheibler. I'm the Executive Director for Kansas Workforce One. I recognize some of you. I've been out before. It's been a while. I am the local workforce investment board that covers what is now the 79 counties in Kansas. You can see, I think, Randy, you've got a map in there. That's the agreement. That's the, rather move to the more fun stuff to show you. Oh, there it is. So as of the reason we're out, we have a longstanding agreement with Reno County. You probably recognize us more as the Kansas Works offices. We have a Kansas Works office right here in Hutchinson, and we serve this region throughout that office. And under the name of Kansas Works. Kansas Works is our statewide workforce system. This map shows you our coverage area. The light blue area is the area that we cover as of January 1. And that's why we're renewing the agreement a little bit earlier than we normally do, is just to make you all aware that there was a merger approved by our two local workforce boards and chief elected official boards, as well as the governor's office and the state board, that took effect January 1 of 2025. So we now cover those 79 counties. What this map shows you is we're incredibly proud of is that we're actually serving every single county in the state of Kansas in one way, shape, or form. But of course, we concentrate our time and our resources on the 79 counties that we're immediately responsible for. The other thing that I have and please stop me if you have any questions, but the other thing that I provided, Randy, also is just to give you an idea of what we're doing and how we're impacting. This impact report, I always like to try to provide two different types of report. One is shows numbers and immediate results. The other one is our newsletter that shows stories. Some people like stories, some people like numbers. So this first impact study is one that we've presented to our congressional legislators in Washington, D.C. as well as here in the state of Kansas. But it shows the services that we're providing in those 79 counties. And the very first part gives an idea of why the merger took place. The merger took place in order to share costs across those areas so we can serve more people. We were immediately able to put more staff in the field to serve direct staff and are working on expanding services in this county as well as many others. If you look at the next page, this really, it really shows how we're focusing our funds. We are super excited, and hopefully you're aware of the project that we did right here in Hutchinson with Siemens last year, where we were able to help prevent 86 people from being laid off. And we helped provide training opportunities for them to remain working and continue to have that vital workforce in place for that employer. We do those things with other employers as well, but that's one that's particularly important to Reno County. We also are showing here our responsibility and our commitment to serving youth. We have some really amazing projects that we do with youth, particularly in this county. Actually, we have a fast track program where we put youth and pre-apprenticeship projects over the summer, and we partner with Hutchinson Community College and many of the businesses in this area as well. We also do a lot of work-based learning projects in this region, helping kids understand that there are great jobs here. And we want them to stay or come back when they go off to college, because we need them in order to support the needs of our businesses in this community and the surrounding areas. So that kind of gives you, again, just a real quick glance at what we're doing. We're also excited to announce that we are expanding a project and will include Hutchinson. It's called the Equitable Transition Model Grant, Connect Y, and I cannot remember what that one stands for. We have so many acronyms in our world, but it is a youth project that will be helping kids with disabilities transition into employment after high school. And it's an $8 million grant that will include the Hutchinson community and the schools in this area. So we're going to be launching that and hiring staff right now. We're hiring staff, looking for the right people for that, and they will hopefully launch that program in November. So we can keep you updated with that. The other things in here are just flyers to explain to you the services that we have. I think it's always important when I'm with counties to explain that is the newsletter. Again, those are stories, and it gives you some of our employer-led training results, again, stories of customers, success stories, things like that that we've been able to do across our area in the last year. We'll be producing a new one for this year. Our year ended June 30, so we'll be producing a new one and getting it sent out as well. The other things are just flyers. As I mentioned, I think it's important every time I meet with counties is to remind you that we know you're an employer too. You hire and retain employees all the time. We can help with that, and we want to help with that. We have training services that we can actually use to help you promote people within your own workforce. So please always remember that. We're here to help in any way we can to help you retain good employees as well. Finally, just to kind of get to the agreement itself, this agreement, we're required to do this anytime we make major changes and make counties aware of what's happening with the workforce boards. The first thing in the agreement is that you have the right to appoint somebody to our chief elected official board. I know you all have lots of committees and lots of work to do, but we would love to have a representative from your commission to sit on our chief elected official board. Our chief elected official board is made up of people just like you across our area, some small towns, big towns, and they sit on the board that meets quarterly to look at what we're doing, to guide us in making sure that we're doing what your commission, what your county and your constituents need as far as workforce development in your region. So again, we would love to have somebody from Reno County on that commission. It's been a very long time since we've had somebody from Reno County. I actually can't remember, probably maybe 15 or 8, even more years ago. So we would love that. I'll quit plugging that for now. The other thing, of course, with this agreement is to, again, make you aware of the fact that you do have some fiscal, not responsibility, when we're not here asking for money, which I should have said that first. I usually try to say that first in commissions, is we're not here asking for money. We're actually telling you how we're spending money in your county. So, and 90% of our funds are federal funds. When our funds are accepted in the state of Kansas, the governor does that on behalf of all of the counties in the state of Kansas. So we're required to make you aware of that and to explain that there could be some level of fiscal responsibility if we were to use those funds inappropriately or in a disallowed manner. I will tell you, we've never had that happen. You can see our audit reports. We do send those out yearly to every county that we serve as well. And we do have directors, officers, all those kinds of insurance policies that protect us from that. So it shouldn't be a concern, but we are required to make sure that you're aware of that. With that, do you have any questions for me or comments?
Any questions, guys? Or
You said your board meets every quarter. Where do they meet at?
So we always have a Teams option because we cover all over. Right now we're looking at Salina, Hutch, and Topeka, and rolling that kind of around that way just because some people like to meet in person and some people don't want to meet in person. So we try to have both options. But
what are the dates since you said?
Off the top of my head, the first one I know coming up is September 26th. looking at, and then it's every quarter after that. So it's the first Friday of December. I know that. I do not know the date off the top of my head, but I can certainly get that information to Randy.
Any other questions or comments? How about you guys over there in administration? You got something?
No, just,
The
recommendation for the
The
agreement to be
thank you.
approved.
So we will need a motion to that effect, correct?
And I had help from our K-State fan here to my left. It's December 5th is the first Friday. It's always a Friday because you guys are all busy on Mondays, and when sometimes some of our commissions are Wednesdays. So it's about the only day you guys don't have a commission meeting.
Well,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Appreciate you being here. All right, with that, we need a motion, don't we? What would it be to approve the agreement? Okay, yeah, that's the words I was looking for. Thank you.
I'll motion to approve the chief elected official board agreement with the local workforce development in Area 1. That's how it reads.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments before we vote? Seeing none. Jenna?
Commissioner Parks?
Yes.
Commissioner Vincent?
Yes.
Commissioner Winger?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst?
Yes.
Commissioner Bogner?
Yes. All right. Next item on our agenda is landfill methane agreement. So, do you want to introduce that? I
Yeah.
know you've been working on it.
Yes, commissioners, I thought I would kind of give an introduction and an overview because this has been going on for a while and because today is kind of the final decision making on it. And then Meadowlark is here also, and they'll answer questions and give a review of what they're proposing. So first thing to point out, I keep referring to this as the methane agreement. Our landfill naturally produces methane and other gases, and the agreement actually allows the capture of really anything that's useful that Meadowlark would be able to capture. Now, my brother is a chemical engineer, and if he were here, he could tell you what those are and how they exist, but you got the other brother that doesn't do calculus, so I don't know what those are. But what the idea was, there's technology now that allows the capture of useful gases like methane that naturally occur from our landfill. And so what Meadowlark, actually back in 2023, the county sent out an RFP process, reviewed several. We, of course, had different commissioners, so some of you weren't involved in that, but the proposal we liked the best was from Meadowlark. Then we entered into negotiations with Meadowlark for what an agreement like that would look like. We actually hired some outside counsel to help us because it was such a unique agreement. In December of last year, we reached a option with them, kind of a provisional agreement because they had some deadlines they were facing. And then we've been working on the final version for quite a while. Norman pointed out it was starting back in May, we've kind of been quibbling a little bit on the back and forth. Basically, like I said, this agreement would allow them to capture methane that's naturally produced at our landfill. Some of the highlights I pointed out, the county is retaining final approval of any design for any additional project. Meadowlark's responsible financially for adding anything. The county has to approve it. We're also requiring security for removal so that if Meadowlark suddenly left the project and abandoned it, not that they would ever anticipate that, but if they did, there'll be a financial security involved that we could return ourselves to the status quo from before the project. And then, of course, as part of doing this, the county is going to receive either a royalty payment for what's produced from it, similar to like a oil lease, with a minimum payment, so that if the amount that's produced is smaller than $37,500 a month, that we get that minimum. So before Meadowlark presents, Commissioner asked me a while ago what we think. I think the honest answer for this project is this is a new thing. New things are always scary. It brings us out of our comfort zone because it's something we haven't dealt with before, and there's not a lot of places that have dealt with these, so that is a concern. Having said that, we've done everything we can, we think, to protect ourselves with the agreement with the legalities, and of course, we're going to watch very closely as they develop to make sure that anything they do at our landfill is something we're comfortable with. So with that, I'll stand for questions. Oh, I think we should let Meadowlark present, and then you can ask questions from me, from staff, or from Norman. Yeah. Norman, did you get your presentation to Randy? Oh, not yet.
Commissioners, good morning again. Good to see you again. Randy, Patrick, and Megan. I'll pass it over now. Thank you again for your time. The way we'll present this to you today, I've asked John Bolte, our engineer, to give you an overview of what's on the paper there. That again will tell the story of the process, the plant, and its location. After John completes his update on the premises and the lease area, then I'll just follow up with some brief comments to what we heard from Patrick. So again, commissioners.
Do you have to where you can email? We can't do this.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah. So Commissioner, again, our process will be we'll walk through what's in the pictures with John, and then I'll just follow up with some comments off of what Patrick mentioned and take your questions. Thank you again, Commissioners, for listening to us again today as we present this to you. Go ahead, John.
Good morning. I'm John Bolte. I'm with Small Arrow Engineering. We work with Spark, and we've formed this Meadowlark team for this project and this site. Just a little bit about my background. I'm originally from Salina. I'm amongst K-Staters. That's nice. I live in Missouri, so I have to deal with Tigers and Jayhawks generally, so it's a nice break. I worked for the gas company in Kansas City. My background, gas service, ended up on the Missouri side, so became part of Spire, which was the lead. So my background's from the LDC sector. That kind of translated into work really in the alternative energy sector. So a lot of our focus has been with compressed natural gas fueling stations and liquefied natural gas, those sort of things. So kind of we've evolved, shall we say, into this RNG world where we realize there's quite a bit of methane that's really available that can be captured and gathered and processed and put back into the grid, and it's renewable. Whereas, where we have our oil and gas leases, we know they're all depleting. They don't go up, they go down. And so in this case, as long as the landfill's in operation and the municipal waste continues to show up, after it breaks down, it continues to bring us more methane and more product. So a little bit about what's going on here specifically with your site. This first sheet is just kind of an overview of the whole picture of one end to the other. The second sheet in the handout kind of zooms into the actual plant lot space that's adjacent to your current facility. I might just start with that, work my way out. Basically, we've got a warehouse, operations office, should be kind of out front, adjacent to Clark Road. And then in the back, we would have the actual RNG plant itself. It's situated kind of adjacent to where your current flare is, where we would basically tee into where the raw gas leaves the landfill space and goes to the flare. We would basically tee into that, intercept that, and then bring that new raw gas flow into the plant for processing. And in essence, the flare would just become more of a standby operation. We wouldn't be flaring it off anymore. We have about a 3-acre lot here that we've identified and described, which is in the agreement as far as space that we need to operate in. And we have our utilities actually works out nicely there along Clark. We have access to the water for our water service, for our office. We would probably look to do a similar setup to what you guys have with your facility as far as septic in the lateral field out front. Just kind of parallels what you're doing. And then our main access road would come in to the east side. Basically, there's the pipeline corridors that are just to the east of us that contain One Oak and Enterprise pipelines. So we're kind of sandwiching ourselves in between your space currently and where the pipeline corridors cut through there. So we'd be working with you on, the pre-development meeting process that we would normally go through you, Wilma County, for the development of the site. Make sure we have our zoning set up. We have a couple crossings of the road to make from a utility standpoint, need our entrance permit, and so forth. We also then will be notifying the Kansas Corporation Commission about the construction of the actual gathering line. So the line that actually goes from the plant over to the injection site on Kansas Gas Service. That's a process that we go through with them. And then finally, we would also be looking to work with either the local fire marshal or the state fire marshal, depending on how we want to handle that jurisdictional wise. We do have coordination with the fire marshal for everything pertaining to the plant operation and emergency response. As Norman mentioned, and I know you've mentioned, the plant itself, it's actually a pressure swing absorption system, 2-stage. What does that mean? In essence, when we extract the raw gas from the landfill, we remove H2S from it initially. We remove the VOCs that are present in the landfill gas, and then it goes through the 2 stages. So one stage is removing the excess CO2. Second stage removes the excess nitrogen. So typically with landfill gas setups, you generally have a lot of extra nitrogen that drives the B2 value of the methane down. So it's very important to get the nitrogen removal out of there. And then when we're done with that, we in essence have what we consider pipeline quality methane. And then we've got it set up to where we would have about a 9,100 foot path here on the overall view that we've kind of routed north and around the perimeter of your property. And then we go to the west a short distance to the Kansas Gas Service transmission system. We're anticipating, once the plant's fully up and operating and once we have all the well field systems in place, I know you guys are looking to operate the well field system on the mountain, so we'll have to be coordinating with you guys on that to kind of get all that tuned and balanced and in place. But our ultimate target flow is about 400 SCFM flow of methane into the pipeline. So somewhere in the gas company numbers, somewhere in the 20 to 25 MCF per hour flow rate. Pretty good flow rate. It's a pretty good flow rate. The lot itself, we've been working with Kansas Gas Service. We would, in essence, have an injection lot on the west side of their pipelines where they would have their metering and their chromatograph equipment to receive the flow from us. The other thing that we're doing to kind of simplify matters is we would actually lay a 4-inch poly pipeline, and that way we don't have issues with cathodic protection and having to boost our pressure, very high when it exits the plant. This would actually operate at about a 90 PSI level. And then when we arrive at Kansas Gas Service, we actually would have a remote compressor there, and then we would boost the pressure on up to roughly 700, the pressure that Kansas Gas Service operates at. So that works out nicely. We've got 4 pipelines to cross on One Oak to get to this location. We just parallel the Enterprise pipeline, so we don't have to work with them. We're paralleling their right of way. So that worked out pretty nicely. And then we'll have a 3-phase power extension that would come from the west, from the electric service out there to supply power for our remote compressor. Beyond the right of way that we would get from you guys, We then have 2 property owners to work with for private easements. One is the folks that are, well, it's called ERA or real estate, but it's the old racetrack parcel. So we're on them for a little bit of a distance there. And then we're on the Greenbush seed parcel, which is part of Beechner Grain. So we've already tracked him down. He's in Parsons. So everyone's pretty agreeable on those ends of it. So we have a pretty clean corridor to get basically from A to B. Our plan is to be able to start building this thing, design and construction, get going right away. Generally, it's about an 18-month fuse by the time you start to the time we finish, and can have the ribbon cutting and all that good stuff. Also, I was going to introduce Jeff Lewis, who's with me. He helps us at Small Arrow. He's actually in Wichita, and so Jeff will probably be serving as a resident project rep. So we have someone that's nearby to help oversee construction. So we do have some local forces involved here to help out. Another thing is, I don't know if Norman's invited you yet, but we probably invite you maybe to come down to Enid. We're just putting that system online. It's just up and running, the Enid facility at their landfill. Their plant is very similar size and scale to yours. If you think about the size of the community in terms of how much waste they generate, they're pretty similar. So it definitely would give you a really good feel for what's it going to look like and kind of how does it function. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of this thing, how it works. So I don't know if you got any questions about that part of it, the logistics. I'll let Norman talk about the fun part about how big is your check going to be. Okay.
I've got a question later on, but it's my understanding we're going to hear everything so we can ask all questions of all people. So
very good. Thank you, gentlemen.
Commissioners, the only thing I would add to everything you've heard, I think what you heard from Patrick were 4 key items on the agreement, and these are all responses to when we were together in May. In late May, we were asked to provide some escalation to our minimum payment, which we agreed to in our contract. We were asked to allow the county to control the well field, not only the operation of the well field, but also the design of the well field. And we agreed to those terms as well. Something that's pretty straightforward on responsibilities. Responsibilities are enumerated and lined out that say that Meadowlark as a company would be responsible for the permitting, the construction, the operation, and the day-to-day management of this business on your property, and that's in our agreement as well. And then finally, that financial security one, Commissioner Bogner, I know from an oil and gas background, we had our conversation in our meeting in May, and that really spoke to what happens with, oil and gas, abandoned and orphaned wells, and what happens with remediation, what happens with activities that are all, when a project comes in, what happens afterwards. And we have language now that's pretty clear that outlines that in our agreement. And so I would say for those 3 reasons, 4 reasons, we ask, again, for your support on this opportunity. As John mentions, 18 months happens pretty quickly. We have certain conditions related to permits, to easements, economic viability, and finally, a title commitment. We'd run a title commitment to make sure we're on good standing on the ground that we're on. Assuming we get those things, we have a deadline in our agreement of 6 months to get that. And so if you look at the calendar, we would say by the end of this year, we've completed all the design steps needed. And then we start truly breaking ground at the beginning of next year, giving us the other 12 months we need to get to 18. And so our goal would be to come and brief you throughout the process. We'd have recurring meetings with Megan and Patrick and anyone else needed from the county to speak to our progress. And then come to you in briefing sessions throughout the process, a quarterly basis, monthly basis, however frequency you want, to give you updates on what we're doing. And so with that, I'll stop and just, again, thank you for your interest in something. Although Patrick said it's new, it is new, but there are projects in Kansas that are taking landfill gas today. If you go to Lawrence, that's a good example. If you go to Plum Thicket, that's another landfill that has this. And then again, the neighboring projects that we have, which are in Lawton, Enid, Lincoln, Nebraska, Coleman, Alabama, Manny, Louisiana. So there's plenty of sites to go look at if you want to see it. So appreciate your support. Patrick, I'll turn it back to you.
Yes, Commissioners. So this is kind of ripe for, this agreement's ripe for consideration. So now would be the chance to ask whatever questions you want to ask of us, because once you approve it, these gentlemen, if you approve it, and once you approve it, these gentlemen, as you can hear, are going to be off to the races to try and make it happen. So we've tried to incorporate all the things that have come up since the meeting in May and since previous meetings, and now we just need to leave it to you guys.
I said I had a question earlier. You quoted some gas flows, and would that be higher than the minimum? I'm taking it that the minimum payment, you darn sure want to be above that, or you're not going to be making money. But I'm guessing that if there were a problem and we weren't meeting that minimum, is that on a monthly basis, or is that on a yearly basis, average? How are we coming under our 37 a month? And in your presentation, you said the minimum was changed. Is this 37,000 a month the new minimum, or?
No,
Or what I've been reading, is this an old number?
No, Commissioner, I think what was changed was the escalator, not the minimum. And
Okay.
so we added a new clause that described an escalator that happens to the minimum. To answer your question on baseline versus upside, for us to pay $37.5, that is approximately half the plant production is occurring. And so for us, we think that the upside is present there. So if we're building an 800 SCFM plant, and there's 400 SCFM, then that's roughly equal to that minimum payment.
Okay,
And so
you fully expect when you open up to be above that quite a ways?
That's the goal, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, I was hoping that would be. The other thing, nitrogen was mentioned. That is a gas, and from what I read in your contract, you have the right to that nitrogen. Now, we are sharing in the value of that nitrogen, because it could be used, I'm guessing, in fertilizers and other certain manufacturing uses nitrogens.
That's correct.
So it's a saleable gas.
Yes, sir. Yeah, the way
And we would be included in our percentage on those sales.
Yes, sir. Yeah, the definition of revenue is recovered landfill gas or other products. And other products gives you the list: nitrogen, CO2, and any other gases that are derived here that are sellable in usable quantities.
Okay. That's kind of the way I read it. I'm just...
I focus on the methane because when we started talking, we tend to think of it in terms of methane, but it's written as broadly. Right. Those other things are something that becomes valuable in the future. It would be whatever they sell.
Well, yeah, we don't, like you say, we don't know what's going to be valuable in 10 years. So, kind of looks like you covered things pretty close as far as, I'm no attorney, but I do read contracts. So, I think you guys pretty well covered things.
Well, we really tried. Of course, I don't have a crystal ball, and that's what's always scary about. Yeah, Norman, my definition of new is adjust as you get older, and so to me, for Reno County, this is a very new kind of project. It exists other places, and it's. I said earlier, it's not in our comfort zone. If we thought it was irresponsible, we wouldn't even be discussing it with you guys.
Yes. Well, I grew up in a family where, I'll put it this way, I never went to bed cold or hungry, but there wasn't a lot of money to throw around, and you didn't waste anything. And it just hurts me to see this being flared in the air when it's got a value. And it's a value that the people of Reno County own. And I think we should be capitalizing on something of value rather than just wasting it, is the way my dad would put it. And so I thought trying to do something or getting together with somebody to utilize this asset, to me, made sense. But with that, and I know I've hogged the question deal here, and I've got somebody who wants to ask another question, but I will ask one more question before I quit. Megan, I'm not a waste management person. I know you were in the discussions. Do you feel that you can operate and work with these gentlemen and this company? And is it doable on your end?
Yeah, we will work together as best as we can, and we have so far to this point. I have Reno County in my best interests, and always have. So we'll work together, and it is new, and it's a long contract. So
Yes.
it's a scary thing, but we're going to make sure we do everything that we need to do on our part to stay in compliance with the state EPA. That's my main objective, really, for everybody.
That's the big thing,
Yeah.
because they come after the owner,
Yeah.
not the third party.
Correct.
I've witnessed this before in other areas, and that was always a deep concern. So if you feel good about it, that helps me. Are you three?
I don't know what I am.
Well, three was
Probably.
You've got a comment? Or a
Probably,
question?
yeah. Well, I was just going to comment. I've been on board with this in my mind from the very beginning, and I think it's a good thing for the county. Anytime we can innovate and drop some cost in any area for the county taxpayers, I think it's a great thing to do. I've had some outside interest pushing all along that obviously follows this issue, and they're very comfortable with what's going on in that industry. And so I think it's probably a good thing for Reno County. I love innovation where you can save money or you can change things to be more efficient. And so I hope that this is one of those things. But having said that, my only real question was brought up by the engineer for fire suppression. Is that going to be an extra burden of some kind? You've already got special fire things you have to do at the landfill if you have an accident or an incident. This poses a little more possibility for that if something did tragically go wrong. Is that going to burden further equipment or anything for our fire department to have to respond with that, do you think?
And I'm going to piggyback on that. I didn't get that written in my notes.
Yeah, I just have that question whether it's going to require special suppression stuff that we may not currently have to be able to fight that with.
And it was mentioned coordinating with the fire marshal, state or
Yeah. Do you have,
but I would also say we've got a department that would come into play, and that's emergency preparedness should something go awry.
Right. My question is, you're not in the city limits, but does the city respond to your fire calls?
Well, that was my...
Or is it the volunteers from the county? Who normally
I don't know
responds?
I can't remember the lines. That's why I brought that question
Okay.
up. It is the city comes out to you.
Okay. So that's why
So
I
you've
was,
been in contact with them to find out if there's any special needs there that we'll have to have covered?
well,
don't
normally
wanna
we
be
put them
left
through some training. We do this at our other facilities and the other local fire departments where they know, it's a fenced in, it's a secure facility, so they have access to a Knox box to get in there after hours. Everything's controlled with ESD systems. We also control these systems remotely. So where things can actually be shut down remotely. When you push an ESD, it basically turns off the sources of power. It actuates the actuators, which closes the gas valves, which shuts off the flow of gas. Everything stops. And in every place you have a button, you have type DC extinguisher, because you're talking about, a foam type firefighting thing here. So when the fire department comes, you know, we always have these discussions about, well, where's the closest fire hydrant? Well, that's great, but you're not necessarily using that to fight the fire, so you have to think differently. But that's something we'll be coordinating, and if it's the local fire department here, then that's something we'll work out with them.
Okay.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because I've had facilities where we made a point to work with the locals so that when they get on site, they know what they're dealing with, the various. It sounds real good to me that you're planning ahead and thinking ahead.
Right.
Commissioners?
I mean, I assume you have similar arrangements like at the One Oak facility where you're already doing processing. I assume they've already kind of are well versed with how to respond to those situations.
Well, I figured you had.
This is kind of along that same line.
I think I was just gonna make I think one point is, I think one of the reasons this project works is it's already near the existing gas pipelines, and so obviously the fire department knows how to deal with those. What'll be important is will have to be approved is the design at the facility to make sure it's safe. But in terms of adding this pipeline, there's already multiple pipelines in the area. So.
Yeah, and the space that we've allocated is also intentionally set up for what we call class 1, div 2 setbacks. So, anything where you have an environment where, you're subject to ignition. Everything else that's not rated is outside those zones. So those are other things, that we do as a routine. We also go through a process that we call HAZOPS, where basically all the shareholders involved with the project, we have a plan review and a design review where we kind of go through the whole paces of, if this happens, what do we do? If that happens, what do we do? To make sure all of our systems are integrated correctly and then everyone's notified properly. So it's, when I was at the gas company, we always had to do an emergency plan. The guy would come in from Kansas City and say, okay, someone just tore out your gas main here feeding the city. What are you going to do? And you had the process to go through, of how to take care of it and correct it. So very similar with this, we go through all of that so everyone knows up front what's happening and how to react.
And you'll coordinate and train all the help out there as well in that situation.
Right. Yeah, and then we'll have, we're looking at 2 or 3, a half. You're going to cut me in half? Okay. 2 point something employees, whatever that means. But there'll be people that are out there, during
really
the day.
Short one.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, whatever.
You're going to get in trouble.
So, yeah, we're going to let that one slide. Anyway, and again, there's folks that are there during normal working hours. Actually, the company we work with has systems and controls. They can actually operate this thing from Germany.
Right, I understand.
Okay?
Yeah.
So it's, everybody's got an eye on it to where if there's a problem, someone's going to get an alarm. That's kind of an advantage because they're, 6-7 hours ahead of us. So they're kind of coming to work when we're going home. And so there's really someone that's got an eye on this thing all the time. It's kind of handy.
One thing.
We do have a plan in place now with our local fire department. I work with them every year.
Good.
So, here, I'll say everything now. You kind of have a.
Give them the spiel.
Well, we do have a local plan in place with our fire department now for fire instances that happen because we do have the system up and going as far as flaring. So they know that whoever is there first, they have to shut off the system before anything happens with us. And then they kind of there for our standby. We do all the work with our dirt and equipment. Like he said, water doesn't fix fires out there. So we have a plan in place with our local fire department now.
So we're well on the way already.
Yeah.
Something I did like in your presentation, the fact that you're using plastic and low pressure.
Yeah.
If there is some kind of problem, the low pressure, you're not moving a lot of gas real fast. There's things while you're shutting it down.
That's correct.
And you don't have the electrolysis problems. That's a big thing with pipelines.
Yeah, it's a 4-inch SDR9, so it's rated for a little higher operating pressure. I know you see a lot of the yellow poly around here, which is generally good for up to 60 pounds. This you can run up to about 125. And that's the other challenge. We got to cross One Oak 4 times. Then we have to bore under Kansas Gas Services lines twice to get to an open space. Well, if I show up with a steel pipeline, I'm going to have an interference bond with all those guys and cathodically protect and interconnect with them, and it's a colossal pain in the rear. And you want to avoid that. So
Yeah.
when I go to get the crossing agreement, I say, hey, I got a poly line and I just need to bore underneath you. It's fairly routine. Makes life a lot easier. And like you say, if there's third-party damage, you're not going to lose near as much flow until you shut the line off. That's
Well,
correct.
thank you.
You bet.
You guys got any comments or?
This got one for Pat. The way you read it all you want, and it's still there. But the way I'm reading it is, we're not out any initial money.
Oh, correct.
And they're going to pay us,
Correct.
and we have to get rid of the methane anyway.
That is, yep, that is exactly right. If it all works exactly as proposed, it makes a lot of sense.
So our only risk is this company being responsible for if they leave or if something goes wrong, that they're financially able to take care of it.
Yeah, that's correct, and that's why we're requiring some security from them just in case that happened, yeah.
Okay, I guess after I read through it all, I come up with that. But.
You're like me, no lawyer, but you get the gist. So, any other further comments?
I have one. Even though you're going to be taking minor amounts of CO2 and nitrogen out of this, what's your plans for storage and transportation if that's a saleable item, when it becomes a saleable item? You can't tell by the pictures here on storage units for that or transportation out of there.
Currently, what we have to do to meet air permit requirements is through the PSA process, you still have some methane that's attached to the CO2 or attached to the nitrogen. It doesn't fully separate. And so we're required to actually put that through a thermal oxidizer, or for lack of a better term, to incinerate it. Okay, so that's occurring during this operation. Now, you extract probably the majority of the methane out of the gas system and put it into the pipeline, but then the excess CO2, the excess nitrogen, and a little bit of methane goes into thermal oxidizer. So can we use the nitrogen or the CO2 for commercial purposes? Possibly. It's an economics question. We did a facility several years ago for Seaboard Foods, Seaboard Energy out in Guyman in the Panhandle. And we were looking to capture the CO2 and use it for the stunner, for the hogs. And we were looking at, could we capture the nitrogen and actually turn it into food quality nitrogen? So we kind of studied all those different things because we're right next to the packing plant. And we thought, well, all we got to do is just run a line up the hill and, feed it back in. But then we got the price tag from the folks to build it, and it just didn't pencil out. Now, will it pencil out in a few years if there's more value? Possibly. Never say never, but currently there's not enough amounts there, to have a commercial use. But the possibility does exist, and we, your brother will go say, hey, let's grab this, but then he's going to give us the bill, and we're going to be like, oh, okay. So that's what we have to think about. The market's there for the methane. That's a no-brainer. It has value. It keeps coming. These flow rates are pretty tremendous when you think about it. And then you guys have, 40 years of capacity remaining at your site or whatever, and this thing just keeps going. Pretty cool.
You had brought that up in your conversation, so that's why I just wanted
Yes. Yeah, it's been looked at. Our Enid facility, as an example, is 5 miles from the Coke plant, the fertilizer plant. We've had a conversation about, is it worth it to go 5 miles with our CO2 and put it in the system? Maybe. Is it today? No. But it may be eventually.
Well, fertilizer prices are just crazier than heck right now.
I just got my bill. I just got my bill from Galatia, and I'm like, I got the little payout for the drought from 2 years ago, and now I got the fertilizer bill, and all I'm doing is just swapping money.
Yeah.
Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing, but what I'm getting at, we don't know, and you don't know, the price differences in a few years, what suddenly becomes doable and right now isn't. So it sounds like you guys are covering it.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing, that we don't waste something that we could all benefit from.
I'm a civil engineer from K-State. My roommate was a chemical engineer, and I thought he was nuts. And now I have to know all this stuff. But it's all good, you know? It's just part of keeping up with the times.
So, we good all around here?
Yeah.
I guess at this point, they need an answer. So I'd entertain a motion if somebody wants to make it.
I'll make it again. I move to enter into the agreement as presented with Metal-Arc. Is there specifics you want? There,
I
Mr.
probably should just authorize the commission to sign it. That'd be the only thing.
Yeah, to authorize the commission to sign the agreement
I'll
between
second
Metal-Arc and the county.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further questions or comments before we vote?
Thank you to the staff that put all the time into this, to Metal-Arc for your work and your time on this thing too. It's been a while coming, but certainly I think the end result was a good workable thing. And Patrick, especially if the hours you put into it, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Megan and her engineers did a lot of good work on this too, so I appreciate them.
Well, I mean, it's new enough, and everybody's got to be on board, and I'm sure we have the right people asking the right questions. So,
well, I like to, I'm like everybody up here, I think, but I'd like to see recycling done as much as possible on things that, and I mean, other than just turning it back in the dirt, the landfill, if we can get a benefit from a gas that's there and it's been there, we might as well utilize as much of that as we can. And I would love to see, recycling brought back in bigger ways in other forms too. But that being said, I'm all for this project.
well, now, Richard, you take too much out of there and we'll get less gas. No, I agree with your concept. So with that, if there isn't any further comment, Jenna, would you have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Parks?
Yes.
Commissioner Vincent?
Yes.
Commissioner Winger?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst?
Yes.
Commissioner Bogner?
Yes. Motion passes. Well, thank you. I guess we're partners. So, next item on our agenda would be the SCED appointments, 7C. And I'll ask somebody that knows a little more about it and what we're trying to do here to speak.
Yeah, also, Commissioner, the SCED appointments, I received a letter from the director of SCED a couple weeks ago, and it's in the packet regarding a couple appointments they want approval from Reno County. Jackson Swear had removed himself, or he resigned from the SCED board when position changed. And so Carissa Paxton from the city of Hutchinson, she's their housing person, was placed on there, or was nominated to take his spot. And then Commissioner Hurst has been on the SCED board for multiple years, and is based on this letter that for an at-large position, Michelle Inskeep from People's Bank and Trust is recommended to take a spot and possibly take Commissioner Hurst's at some point when he's done with the board. I'll let Commissioner Hurst speak on that.
All right. Yes, I have been on, I'm one of the more senior members at SCED, and have been on the board for years. And there are some requirements that SBA has regarding who can serve on the loan committees and who could approve loans and so forth. And when I was with the Quest Center, I qualified for that. And not being in that position of having loans, making decisions on loans, the SBA has to have people on the SCED board who are actively involved in the loan process so that they can serve. That's one of the requirements to serve on some of these, on some of the loan boards that SBA requires us to, the SCED board, to approve as well as monitor. And so that is the reason why I looked at someone who has banking experience and can qualify for to be able to be on these loan committees and loan review boards. And Michelle is coming off some other boards, and she very gracefully looked at becoming a member of this and knows SCED. And so she said yes, and I'm familiar with Carissa Paxton, as maybe some of you are, and to go right along with that. And so I heartily approve both of these.
Any?
I stand for questions.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Any questions or comments or? But basically, they're wanting our approval of the two new
we thought that was the best way to go, is to give approval for this. That way their full representation. SCED, as you probably know, has about 13 counties involved in the South Central Kansas Economic Development District. And they are in financially good shape, decent shape, to be able to handle what their required are. And as you know, we've worked with SCED here in the county, as well as the cities worked a lot with SCED. And being as Michelle represents a bank that has Yoder, 3 locations out in the county, I thought this would be a good person to come in. And I plan on being on there till the end of the year.
What about this Carissa? What's her background?
Her background is in primarily housing and works with that area, which SCED's highly involved in housing. And Jackson Swear, is, like myself, has been past chairman of SCED, and that was his pick to come in and be a replacement for him as on the board, and she's a pretty sharp young lady. So I would just you to consider approving this.
Well,
and I would make that motion.
That's what I was going to ask for. So if you're going to make the motion, how you want to state it?
I would recommend that the Board of County Commissioners approve Carissa Paxton and Michelle Inskeep as Reno County representation on the SCED Board of Directors.
I'll second that. I know both of them.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? If not, Jenna, would you lead us through this?
Commissioner Parks?
Yes.
Commissioner Vincent?
Yes.
Commissioner Winger?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst?
Yes.
Commissioner Bogner?
Yes. 7D, 25-26 health and dental insurance premium schedule.
Good morning. Helen Foster, HR Director. It's that time of year again, and we're right up against the deadline for getting our insurance premiums in. We had our stop-loss premium come in pretty late this year, so that's why we're kind of right up against the deadline on that. So open enrollment this year starts on Monday, the 18th, and it'll go for a full 2 weeks. So with that, we need to adopt our premium schedule for the 25-26 plan year. This year, we don't have any changes in any of our vendors, so we will still keep Allied and Providers Care Network as our TPA for insurance, medical side, and then the pharmacy side is still Ventegra. Dental insurance will stay with Delta Dental, and so all of our partnerships are the same. There is only one minor change on plan design, and that is with the qualified high deductible health plan. And that is just because IRS depicts that we have to set the individual deductible at a certain amount. So every year it pretty well goes up anywhere from $100 to $200 a year. And so this year it will climb from $3,200 to $3,300 for the individual deductible. The family deductible will stay the same at $5,600. The qualified health plan is also the plan that we look at for affordability under ACA. ACA depicts what we have to have for affordability, and I will apologize. Do you mind scrolling down? That's the insurance premiums that we're recommending. So those would have been in the packet. And that shows the county side and the employee side. With that, the highest plan is going to be the family PPO going up $24 a month. So that accounts to about 15 cents an hour if you average that out for a full-time employee. Under ACA, they do consider a full-time employee a 30-hour employee, and that is depicted in the legislation. With that, we do have to make sure that we keep, can you scroll down just a little bit, Randy? To the qualified, sorry, at the very bottom of the first page. The qualified high deductible health plan is where we have to meet our affordability standard. And so the IRS sets that affordability standard at, if we were doing without any safe harbors, it would be $113.20 a month that the employee could pay. However, we're past that, so we have to utilize safe harbors. And with that, we utilize what they call the rate of pay safe harbor. And so we take our lowest paid employee hourly rate, which is $12.47. And we look at that as a 30-hour employee. So the max that we can charge on that premium is $146.22 with that safe harbor. However, we try not to get too close to that amount because just like last year, they dropped the percentage rate. Normally it does climb up. However, for whatever reason, last year the IRS dropped that rate. If we are right up against that amount, if that would have happened last year, we would have had to drop that rate where we were raising the other rates. So we try not to get real close to that, but still within reason to the affordability standard. So with that, this is going to be the recommended rates for 25-26 plan year. And I'm hoping that we can have an approval on those today so that I can get hopping on getting our benefits guide done and updated, and we can get our portal set up with the new rates. Dental plan is not changing in rates. That's the recommendation on that, is for it to stay the same. We did raise last year, and that was the first time in at least 5 years that we've raised a dental premium. So we raised it by $1. If you want to scroll on down, this is kind of, this information right here kind of shows how we come up with what we're proposing for the rates. We get a funding target from USI of where we need to fund our plan. And so this year our funding target is $4,780,386.24. I take the enrollments that we have as of August 1st, and the enrollment numbers, they fluctuate a little bit. Plug those in, and that's where I come up with our funding of $4,788,414. That's between the county and the employee portion of premium, and based on our enrollment. I have a 5-year look back in there, but if you look off to the side, that 17.47% is a 0.01% difference from last year, and that just has to do with the enrollment numbers. So as the enrollment numbers change, that's going to look a little different. So, but it's still right in line with where we were at last year. Last year was 17.48%. So, do you guys have any questions for me? This is just kind of some history, just so you can kind of see how our premiums have changed over the last 5 years. Just a little bit of a 5-year look back on the trends. No questions?
Well, a lot of it's pretty much dictated by what we have to do. So you've studied it, and this is your recommendation.
This is my recommendation because it brings us into at the funding level that we need to be at for our plan to stay healthy.
If you guys got any questions of Helen while she's at the podium?
I thank you for your ability to get through this. 'Cause I'm glad that you're doing it and you have that ability and knowledge to do this.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
With that, what I'm asking for in my agenda request here is for you guys to approve the insurance premiums that I presented here so that we can get started on open enrollment.
Well, any other questions? Well, if not, do I hear a motion or to approve? How would you state it? The new insurance rates, or how?
Approve as recommended. New motion to approve the 25-26 health and dental plan as suggested and presented by staff.
You caught me again. I didn't read my nice guide here. So do we have a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion for the health insurance, health and dental premiums as presented by staff.
Do we have a second? Someone?
Yeah, I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion before we vote? Seeing none, Jenna helps out.
Okay. Commissioner Parks?
Yes.
Commissioner Vincent?
Yes.
Commissioner Winger?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst?
Yes.
And Commissioner Bogner?
Yes. Okay. We're at a point where we have county administrator reports.
Okay, in the packet, you have the monthly reports for aging, public transit, appraiser, automotive, county clerk, community corrections, communications, emergency management, and facilities. Are there any questions on anything in the reports?
I didn't see anything when I read through that's out of line, unless you guys caught something. Want to make a comment, or?
Other than that, the only other thing I have is just give you a heads up. I'm going to be emailing you guys about legislative items to start thinking of legislative platform for the county and trying to set up a meeting with our local legislators sometime this fall before they go up to Topeka. So I'm going to be working on that and emailing you to find dates and times that work for you guys, the legislators, and then what are some of the top priorities that you guys think should be addressed for Reno County. So just giving you a heads up to look out for that email.
If there isn't anything else.
When I look at, you mean avoid or look for it? Okay, I had to ask.
County Commission reports. Ron?
Well, I've got a couple I had a call. This is the Commissioner's Parks District, I think. On North Monroe, there's about the 6400 block. There's a kind of somewhat abandoned trailer house that's deteriorating, and the residents around there are starting to complained. It and also a house that has been unfinished for 10 plus years on 56th in the row. That they're, I don't know what the county policy is on that, or
I'll talk to Mark Vinochin and we'll see where, if it's on our radar, and if it's not in compliance, we start with a letter asking them nicely, and then we'll take it from there.
okay, I'll pass that on. Second, I visited with Dean Chestnut here a while back, and he asked me about the CD rates at the landfill, and he said he did some site work, I think, at the Arlington EMS station. Here probably about a month ago, and he mentioned something about the rates for that, and I said, yeah, that's commercial, but it's actually for a county project. Do we charge them for that?
No.
Okay. I was kind of wondering, because I don't think we should be taking the city's CD for free on, when they tear down the motel and then charge ourselves. Maybe look into that and see if we owe them any money.
Now, if it's a rental, you'll be charged for it. It's part of a business if it's a rental.
As far as the way I understand it, this was probably some site work on the EMS station for the contractor that's doing it for the county, or the county. He wasn't too concerned about it. I don't think it was very much, but I think if they give an address, we should be able to siphon out if that's ours or not.
You just have to know that it's county.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Randy?
I don't have anything this week.
Which way you guys want to do it?
So I actually live in my district, and I know the city has approved demolishing some buildings in the city. And again, I don't know how that works if they are in the city, but they're also part of my district. But there's a house that's been under construction. They tore part of it down, and then it's just, there's no windows. I know it's got to be full of birds and everything else. And it's just a dilapidated house on the corner of 9th and Jefferson. Anyway, just not a very pretty sight. So I've had some people, ask me about that. I always have people joke about who's going to mow my ditch for me. But that being said, we get that taken care of. But I do have some people that I know that have asked about the NRP money. So they're going to be checking on that because they have some houses that need some work. I also have a really good friend. They've been holding off since COVID to build a house because the price, like everything, has gone up, and building supplies have started to come back down. So they're within a range where they felt like they should be able to build their house, and so we'll have a new, property tax that's going to be, supplying some property tax to the county. So that part of it. I also, I just was kind of doing some number crunching, and I know we have budget, and it's never a good time. Nobody wants to talk about budgets, even in your house. So, but that being said, things are hopefully coming down as fast as we want. No, but since COVID, a price of a car or a house or just food in general, they've all gone up, and so we're hoping that they do start to come down. So that being said, budget talks are never fun, but we have to do one. We have to have a budget to make the county work. So I also appreciate all the employees that work for the county and for the city and other cities and stuff. So we appreciate all the hard work that they do. That being said, today I have a great niece that's living with us, and it was her first day of school. So she was excited as all get out. That being said, though, and I know I seem to harp on this, but I've seen too many accidents here lately. And so please, please, please drive slow around schools. I also know I've seen a number of police cars and sheriff's cars in some of those areas, and they're willing to give you a ticket if you don't. So that being said, I'm good. So just be careful out there.
Okay, well, I received, I received a phone call from Reno County Extension new fax person there, and he had requested that wants to go out and meet the city clerks, some of the mayors, some of the council members, and citizens, and so I wanted to have commissioners here that have, like Commissioner Vincent with Bueller, to get a hold of Jason Probst and make an appointment to take him out and meet your council. And if somebody doesn't have time, I will do it. But in the same way with Commissioner Parks and all of you who have a rural community in your area, to get a hold of Jason and schedule a time. I talked with Carol Moore earlier today, and she's sure willing. So Randy, with regards to that, Dawn, with regards to Haven.
Jason's a Bueller.
Huh? Bueller. Whatever small communities are in your area, okay?
And contact him for about what?
He is primarily in the community development, not economic development, but community development and that portion that relates to health of the community, okay? And so just give him a call and schedule a time, please. Because Friday, I'm going to take him out in western Reno County to my communities. And I've got a time set up for each one of those, so.
I have left message with the Bueller City Council or whatever. I have left message with the Bueller City Council a couple times, offering to attend their meetings, their council meetings, and answer any questions or do what I can for them. And I've never heard back on either occasion.
Well, you just,
so try again.
That offer's out there, and he wants to meet the clerks and as many communities as possible. Okay. So
I'll see if I can get hold of Jason.
And to give him a call with the extension office, okay?
The extension office.
I don't know how many of you attended 4-H fair. I hope all of you did, had an opportunity. We get just a little more serious because we're coming into some serious afternoon, the rest of this morning time, and that's with budget. And I just want to emphasize the point that we were hired to do a job, elected to do a job, and that job requires our time and effort to become knowledgeable about not only the departments, but the agencies. And so I hope, and I might ask, how many of you have been down to our agencies and departments? Have you attended any soil conservation surveys or tours? Have you gone down and talked to the people? Have you been to the extension office? Have you been to tech? Have you been to the library? Have you been to these places to become knowledgeable enough to make decisions with regards to cuts and where it will affect those individual as well as the departments? If you had a question about them, I hope we've learned that we just can't take a straight across the board cut. And I really thank the staff for taking the time to put together what that across the board means with regards to things, with their budget and the employees and the services required of our citizens. And I hope that was a point taken. And so I think we're hired on to make some serious, practical, and hard decisions. And we can't make those without knowledge. And the only way we can have knowledge is to be out and learn. And we'll get into that budget, but that's just something I want before we got into it. I really emphasize the fact that we need to be knowledgeable in order to make those decisions. And we just don't want to listen to every Tom, Dick, and Harry because they don't have the knowledge. And so we take that into consideration, but that shouldn't be our basics for making decisions. And I appreciate the effort we're going through to make those decisions. So that's all I have.
Well, I've got a couple little quick comments. This new, the ribbon cutting ceremony on this waste injection site south of town here created quite a stir. I got a phone full of messages. The reality is here is I gave staff a list of questions I wanted answered, and I think probably fell on you harder than anybody, Randy, and I appreciate you getting me some answers. It's actually a pretty old company. It's stored various stuff in those caverns south of town over the years. Their own published materials states that they made some changes to accommodate the kind of waste they're storing now. And the big thing here is many of us, the original permits happened way before we were on this board, and we don't have anything to say about those types of waste. That comes from the state, regulates those, and they do it through their Department of Health and Environment. From the information I got, it was all legal, but the thing you need to remember, if you've got a complaint, the information and flyers from the company themselves gives a phone number to call and visit with them about it. We have nothing to say about it as a board. Again, contact the agencies that permit it, that regulate it, if you've got questions, and that's the Kansas Department of Health and Environment. And that brings me to a little secondary deal, since we're on to that. Just yesterday, I had a state senator call me and ask me what the heck's going on with the tax statements. Of course, tax statements came out, and there was, with the fire districts, you know, we had to, until a vote is taken on whether we go to a single district or the 9 districts we presently have, you had to cover both bases or there wouldn't be a budget for next year. But the reality is, whichever way that vote happens, when it happens, either the new proposed consolidated district will disappear or will be there, or the 9 districts presently there will either be there or not be there. Once those districts are gone, they can't collect taxes. So in order to cover that there would be monies available, no matter what happens in the vote, both scenarios had to be in the budget at this point. One or the other is going to disappear when that vote takes place. But going back to the original thought, those questions would have been better asked of the entity that our county that was doing that part of the, rather than go contact a state senator. He contacts us, we tell him, it goes back. You all went through the deal in school. You tell the first person, by the time it gets to the second person, or the end of the classroom, the two are so far apart, they're not even in the same county. Address your comments, your questions to the authority that has authority and can answer your questions without this runaround. Whether that be that suspicious car down there, I don't need to know about it. I don't know what he might be doing wrong or right. I'm not with the police force. Call the police force. You got a problem with signs? Call Mr. Britton's office. or he deals with that every day, or some bridge that's got a problem. Yes, it's nice to know about it, but you will get a lot faster service and a lot better service if you address it to the people who are in charge of doing that. And no, I can't get you off jury duty. I can't get myself off jury duty. You take that up with the courts. They ask you to serve. The judge will decide whether your request to be excused is worthy or not. I can't. And the thing you got to remember, that third party, when I turn around and call the sheriff on your behalf, he's asking questions. It's a lot faster, a lot safer for his people because they can ask you who are witnessing it. So call the individuals who can do you the most good, the fastest. Yes, I'm interested in knowing what's going on, but you'll help yourself and you'll help the people in charge of those departments if you'll just direct your questions to somebody who can help you. And with that, I'm off my soapbox.
I might make a comment on the vaulted deep deal. That's in an unzoned area, correct, Mr. Britton?
Yes.
There is an alternative to that, and we've thrown it out to the people before. If they would like to be zoned, you're going to be afforded protections with a conditional use permit. And I'll just throw that out there, like a lot of these other issues, and we continue to hear about those things. I just wanted to interject that there, that is an alternative. If you want to be zoned, then when these things come up and you want a say in it, that will give you a say in it.
I want to interject something real quick for your state senator friend. The revenue neutral notice procedure that the legislature has created is confusing. And if they would like it to be less confusing, they can talk to perhaps Jenna Fager or myself or many other people.
That was the first of my comments. You've caused us to have to do these things and sent these notices out before we have the appraisal information that we need to make our budgets. And I see Carol back there shaking her head. And the first thing when this came out, a school board member, I was at a family function, he sat down and he says, "How's the budget deal, Don?" I said, "Just like yours. We're having to take a shot in the dark, file the way we got to file because we don't have the proper information at the proper time because of the way the legislature has set it up, state legislature." So that was my first comment. Then I told him his real question. Yeah. Yeah. And that needs to be pointed out time and again. They need to make a change for all levels of government. I don't care where you're, like I stated, school boards, cities, it makes no difference.
Did you get to communicate with, I know who you're talking about because he sent me the same email.
Yeah.
Did he call you back? Communicate.
I called him and left him a message, and he texted me back because he was in meetings. He kind of in between meetings.
He was out in Dodge.
Yeah. But yes, he acknowledged. Yes, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
I also got a text from Senator Murphy and returned that to explain that.
But I will tell the people, Senator Murphy, if you do call him, he does check into things as witnessed here. He doesn't let it go. I mean, he takes your comments seriously. And he's a good man that way. So, if there's nothing else, I'd say it's time to adjourn. I see no questions, so we'll adjourn this meeting. We will meet back here, in a few minutes? Give us a little break here, and then for this budget study.